Everyone, let's get one thing straight. Being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. It means you've stopped waiting. It means you've stopped needing permission. It means you've finally stepped into your own power. Because the world has trained you to believe that your worth comes from being surrounded, seen, or celebrated. But the truth is, your real strength is built in silence. Being alone is often misunderstood in today's noisy, fast-paced world. We're conditioned to believe that being constantly surrounded by others, always engaged, always connected, is the ideal. But solitude, true, intentional time alone, is where inner strength is born. When you remove the distractions, when you turn off the noise of the world, you're finally able to hear the one voice that matters most, your own, and that voice, it's been waiting for you to slow down, to listen, to reflect. In solitude, you begin to recognize who you really are, not who society says you should be, not who your friends or family expect you to be, but the raw, unfiltered version of you. It's in this space that your values become clear. You start to question what truly matters. What do you believe in? What do you stand for? What do you want to create with your life? These are questions that only reveal their answers in silence, in stillness, in solitude. Being alone removes the external pressure to perform. You stop measuring your worth by likes, comments, attention, or applause. You begin to see your value not by how others see you, but by how you see yourself. You start showing up for you. That's where inner strength starts to take root. It's no longer about proving anything to anyone else. It's about growing into someone you're proud of. Solitude is not weakness, it's training. It's emotional and mental strength conditioning. When you learn to sit with your thoughts, your fears, your past, and your dreams without running away, you become resilient, you become grounded, you realize that you can face discomfort without falling apart. You don't need validation. You don't need saving. You're capable of holding space for your own growth. That's strength. People often fear being alone because they're afraid of what they'll find when the noise stops. But that's exactly where healing begins. That's where the clarity comes in. That's where you take full responsibility for your life. You're no longer reacting. You're choosing. You're no longer people-pleasing. You're self-honoring. You become deeply rooted in your truth. And that kind of alignment gives you unshakable confidence. True strength doesn't come from being surrounded. It comes from being still. It comes from facing yourself. It comes from realizing that no matter what's happening around you, you are whole, you are complete, and you are enough. And once you've built that kind of strength in solitude, nothing and no one can take it from you. So the next time you find yourself alone, don't run from it. Lean into it. Use that space to grow, to listen, to become, because solitude isn't a void, it's a mirror, and when you finally look into it, you'll see that being alone was never a weakness. It was your power all along. Independence is one of the greatest forms of personal power. When you stop relying on others to validate your worth, guide your decisions, or shape your identity, you step into a new level of confidence that no one can take away from you. Being independent doesn't mean you reject connection. It means you're strong enough to stand on your own, even when no one else is around. It's about knowing that your voice, your choices, and your path are valid without needing someone else to approve or agree. Confidence doesn't come from always being right or always succeeding. Real confidence comes from the ability to keep going even when things fall apart. It's the courage to try, to fail, and to rise again. And that confidence starts growing the moment you stop outsourcing your self-worth. The moment you stop needing someone to tell you you're good enough, smart enough, attractive enough, or successful enough. You stop waiting for the world to validate you, and instead, you decide to validate yourself. When you're truly independent, you don't shrink yourself to fit in. You don't silence your opinions to keep the peace. You don't say yes when your heart screams no. You begin to trust your own instincts. You begin to act from alignment, not from approval, seeking. And the beautiful thing is, the more you trust yourself, the stronger your inner voice becomes. The decisions become clearer. The boundaries become firmer. The path becomes more defined. There's a quiet power that comes from knowing you can face life alone if you need to, that you can handle heartbreak, setbacks, and silence without falling apart, that you can wake up in the morning without needing a text from someone to feel loved, needed, or seen. You become your own anchor, your own source of motivation, your own biggest supporter. And when you reach that place of inner independence, the confidence you carry becomes unshakable. This kind of independence allows you to enter relationships from a place of strength, not need. You don't cling, you choose. You don't chase, you attract. You show up whole, rather than hoping someone else will complete you. And when you move through life with that energy, people feel it. Opportunities respond to it. The universe reflects it. Too often, people confuse independence with isolation. But independence doesn't mean pushing people away. It means not depending on them for your happiness or self-image. It means recognizing that while others may enhance your life, they are not responsible for your life. You are. Confidence built on independence is not loud or arrogant. It's quiet, calm, and deeply rooted. It's the steady belief that you can face whatever comes, because your strength comes from within, not from the attention or opinions of others. That's the kind of confidence that can't be faked, and it can't be broken. It's real, it's earned, and it's yours. Growth doesn't happen when everything is easy and comfortable. It happens when you're pushed into moments of discomfort, silence, and reflection. And that's exactly what being alone gives you, the space to grow without distractions. When you're alone, you're not performing for anyone, you're not reacting to the noise of the world, you're just there face to face with yourself, and that's where transformation begins. In solitude, you have the time and clarity to really understand what's working in your life and what's not. You start to see your patterns, your habits, and your fears. You begin to recognize the cycles you've been stuck in, and most importantly, you get the opportunity to break them. When you're constantly surrounded by people, by expectations, by responsibilities, it's easy to go on autopilot. But being alone wakes you up. It forces you to look inward and ask the tough questions. Who am I becoming? Am I proud of this version of myself? What do I need to change? This self-examination is not easy. Growth never is. It requires honesty, discipline, and vulnerability. But it's in this discomfort that you build something real, resilience. You learn to rely on your inner strength, not on external praise. You learn to sit with the hard emotions instead of numbing them. You learn that you're capable of surviving the storm and coming out stronger on the other side. That's real growth, not the kind that looks good on social media, but the kind that changes your character. When you're alone, you also gain the opportunity to reconnect with your purpose. Life gets noisy, and it's easy to lose sight of your dreams in the chaos. But solitude clears the fog. It allows you to dream again, to plan, to reignite the fire inside you that may have been dimmed by stress, comparison, or failure. You start to remember what matters. You start to rebuild your vision from a place of truth, not pressure. The world teaches us to be afraid of being alone, but what it doesn't tell you is that some of the most powerful breakthroughs come in isolation. The ideas that change lives, the healing that frees hearts, the decisions that shape destinies. Those are born in quiet moments, not loud ones. Growth happens when you choose to stay present with yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, when you don't run, when you don't distract, when you stay. So if you find yourself in a season of solitude, don't rush to escape it. Embrace it, let it teach you, let it stretch you, because while it may feel lonely, it's actually one of the most sacred, powerful places you can be. This is the space where the next version of you is being built, stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than ever. One of the most underrated blessings of being alone is that it reveals the truth about your relationships. When you choose solitude, whether intentionally or by circumstance, something powerful happens. The people who are only in your life out of convenience start to disappear. The ones who were there for the fun, the comfort, or the benefit of your presence, but not for you, begin to fade away, and at first, that can feel like loss, but in reality, it's clarity. Solitude becomes a filter. It shows you who is genuinely invested in your well-being and who is just passing time with you. Because real connections don't disappear when the noise dies down. They don't vanish when you stop showing up for everyone else. They remain. They grow stronger, and the ones that don't, let them go. They weren't meant to follow you into your next chapter anyway. When you're constantly surrounded by people, it's easy to confuse quantity with quality. You assume that a full room means full support, but when the room empties and you're left with just a few voices, that's when you discover who truly sees you, who checks in without being asked, who respects your space but never lets you feel forgotten. These are the relationships worth keeping, nurturing, and fighting for. Being alone also gives you the space to evaluate how you show up in relationships. It helps you reflect on whether you've been choosing people out of fear or fulfillment. Have you been holding on to certain friendships or connections just to avoid being alone? Have you tolerated unhealthy dynamics just to feel liked or accepted? Solitude forces you to confront these patterns, and more importantly, it gives you the strength to change them. You begin to develop a deeper sense of self-worth, and when that happens, your standards rise. You stop tolerating half-hearted effort, inconsistency, and emotional unavailability. You start demanding the kind of energy you give. You realize that you're not desperate for company. You're selective, you're intentional, you're grounded enough to know that it's better to be alone than surrounded by the wrong people. This clarity transforms the way you interact with others. You begin to connect from a place of truth, not need. You no longer perform or people please. You show up as your authentic self, and you attract people who do the same. That's how meaningful, lasting, powerful connections are formed. Not in the noise, but in the quiet truth of who you are when no one's watching. So the next time people fall away from your life during a season of solitude, don't chase them. Don't mourn what was never rooted in depth. Celebrate the space that's being cleared for what's real. Because once you filter out the fake, you make room for the genuine, and in that space, relationships become less about filling a void and more about sharing your light. There is a deep, quiet strength that comes from being fully present with yourself. When you're alone, not just physically, but emotionally, you begin to understand the real meaning of power. It's not in how loud you are or how many people follow you. It's in your ability to be still, to breathe, and to exist without needing to prove anything. In those moments of presence, you realize that you don't need to fill every silence or every space. You don't need to chase validation or perform for approval. You just need to be, and that's enough. Being present means you stop running from your thoughts, your past, or your fears. You stop numbing yourself with distractions, social media, noise, constant activity, and instead you sit with what is real. You listen, you feel, and in that awareness you find clarity. You start to understand your patterns, your pain, your dreams. You realize what matters and what doesn't. You begin to distinguish between what's urgent and what's truly important. That kind of presence grounds you in a way that nothing else can. It also allows you to fully own your energy. You're not scattered, desperate, or reactive. You're focused, calm, and intentional. You move through life with purpose instead of panic. You make choices based on your values, not your fears. You speak with clarity, not with the need to be heard. You act from a place of strength, not insecurity. This kind of presence is magnetic. It draws the right people, opportunities, and outcomes into your life, not because you're chasing them, but because you've become aligned with your truth. Many people think power is something external, money, fame, influence. But real power is internal. It's how well you know yourself, how deeply you trust yourself, how firmly you stand when everything around you is uncertain. Presence cultivates this power because it requires you to face yourself honestly. It forces you to confront your weaknesses and your strengths without judgment. It invites you to show up for your own life, moment by moment, decision by decision. And as you grow more present, you grow more powerful. You no longer react to everything that happens outside of you. Instead, you respond from the grounded strength inside of you. You're not easily swayed by opinions, noise, or chaos. You've built a foundation within yourself, and that makes you unshakable. So the next time you feel alone, try this. Breathe, pause, and notice. Notice your thoughts, your feelings, your surroundings. Be where your feet are. Let that moment be enough. Because when you become fully present with yourself, you access a strength most people spend their whole lives searching for. It's not out there, it's in you. And when you live from that place, you don't just survive, you lead. You create, you thrive. That's what true power looks like. Here's a powerful and emotional conclusion that ties together all 5 expanded key points from your speech. At the heart of it all, being alone is not a weakness. It's a transformation. It's the space where your strength is built, your identity is formed, and your soul finally gets a chance to breathe. In solitude, you hear your own voice. You discover what matters to you, not what the world demands. You stop looking for someone to tell you you're enough, because you become enough for yourself. You no longer chase people, approval, or validation. You build confidence from within. You stand tall, not because you've never been knocked down, but because you've learned how to rise on your own. You realize that growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the silence, in the lonely nights, in the honest reflections, in the moments where you could have broken, but chose to grow instead. You learn to let go of the people who were never really with you. Solitude becomes your filter, and only what's real remains, and what's fake, it fades, because the more you know yourself, the less you tolerate anything that doesn't align with your truth. Most of all, you become present. You stop running, you stop reaching. You simply stand in your breath, in your body, in your moment, and in that stillness you find something unshakable, peace, power, presence. So no, being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. It means you're powerful. It means you're becoming. And when you finally understand that, you won't fear solitude ever again. You'll welcome it. Because you'll know, this is where the real you is made.